This is the CHRILLCAST Live. I'm Chris.
And I'm Andrew.
And Will decided to abandon us this week,
Yeah.
so there's that.
Last
But
minute too, Chris.
I
Last
know.
minute. Let's not forget that.
I want to give a shout out to Mike Little. Thanks for the $10 super sticker. You are awesome, as always. Appreciate you. So, for based on that title, I bet you guys can't guess what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about one of tech's biggest banks and how it impacts the gaming and entertainment industry. We're going to read this article from The Verge, and then we'll get into it. We're not going to read the whole thing. We're going to read part of it.
Summarize it, Chris.
The part that I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But the title of this is The Tech Industry Moved Fast and Broke Its Most Prestigious Bank. The Fall of Silicon Valley Bank Explained. Now, I just want to point this out right here. I thought this was hilarious. This bank was founded in 1983 after a poker game. Like, what a better way to start a bank.
I mean, hey, the risk management's involved in poker. You gotta know your odds, right? Like
a lot of bluffing involved in poker
bluffing too, yeah. Tons of bluffing.
But let's see here. More than 2,500 VC firms have banked there, and so did a lot of tech executives. And it fell in less than 48 hours.
And it's important to note too that many of them were well above the FDIC insurance limit of 250,000.
I mean, 90% of businesses, even small businesses, will have a bigger account than that.
Yeah. Well, you're usually supposed to balance out between banks.
Yeah, but let's just say you have a multi-million-dollar company. You're talking like 8-10 banks.
Yeah, but you should still try to counterbalance among a couple, or put that money into something else if you don't need it for daily operating costs. Yeah. You know, it's risk management, Chris.
I was not aware of this though. Look at this. 90% of deposits were uninsured as of December 2022.
Yes. I was aware of that. It was a crazy amount because it is. So you have to realize something about Silicon Valley Bank. It was a favorite and a darling place to go for all of the venture capitalist
the
companies, but all their companies. When they went to a company and backed them, they basically told them all the time to go to Silicon Valley Bank. So you had a lot of these companies there, a lot.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I have learned, I kind of already knew it, but I've learned it more recently, is like a lot of the banking industry is about confidence. Mm-hmm. Confidence in the investments, the money. Man. And the quickest way to disrupt the banking industry would be like making a run to the bank and having everybody take their money out, because the banks usually don't carry enough money to actually, fulfill everybody's deposits.
Doesn't need to be everybody, Chris. They can any bank that were to get run by 20% of the depositors would probably collapse.
Pretty much any bank, yeah.
Yeah. So as any bank, any bank, as long as 20% of customers go within a short amount of time, they're likely to be insolvent at any moment, basically. And if they're able to delay people taking the money out, they might be able to sell assets to be able to cover it, which is where we get into the problem with Silicon Valley Bank. Is they went all in on U.S. Treasury bonds when interest rates were at their lowest. They believed the Federal Reserve when they said they weren't going to raise interest rates.
Right.
And the important thing to recognize about Treasury bonds is they're a guaranteed payout at the end, right? So you have kind of a seesaw element to the Treasury bonds. If interest rates go down below what your Treasury bond is giving you, the actual resale value of that Treasury bond will go above the redemption amount. If interest rates go higher than what it was, your resale value is going to go lower because you have to sweeten the deal for them to take the lower interest rate than what they could go buy right now off the street. So you have to lower the price of what you're trying to sell to equal out to what they would be making profit-wise by just buying the 5% today. So right now, Silicon Valley got screwed because they were having to sell those treasury bonds that they took out, which were
at a loss, basically, right?
At a huge loss, and you have to realize something. When they were offered such low rates, like no one was expecting someone to take such a low resale price, but they were desperate. So the second they showed themselves as desperate, that stock went completely down. Like everyone knew they were insolvent the second they took a deal that was just no one would ever take that unless they were desperate. So,
And probably one of the main things that people forget is banks are a business.
mm-hmm.
They are out to make money. And the way they make money is by reinvesting your money. And even money they don't have, because they only have to have a certain percentage in the bank in order to remain solvent.
Well, you have to remember your business. You're not. It's not. It's just like social media, for example, where the service is not free. You are the service. You're the product, basically.
They're not going to hold your money for free.
No.
They got to make money on money.
The fact that you're making interest at all means they're making more interest than what they're paying you.
Whatever you're seeing in your bank, like, it's, I don't know, $5, they're probably making 100.
So any money you have in a bank is being put to use by the bank to make the bank money, and you get a little taste of whatever that is. Not a very big fraction either.
In fact, this has made me reconsider going to credit unions again. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, to be fair, a credit union does a lot of, still has to do a lot of similar things.
They're just a little safer.
They're more accountable to the depositors. You know, here's the thing too that people aren't really realizing about this banking crisis currently. All the banks that have collapsed. So there's 3 banks that collapsed within the United States. There's other ones on the edge, but the 3 that collapsed, you had Silvergate, which collapsed prior to all of this. Then you had Silicon Valley, and then you had Signature Bank. All 3 of those banks were on the cutting edge as far as being pro-tech and just technology in general, which allowed for faster deposits than anyone was ever used to. So this is the first time that, you know, the smartphone generation could do a bank run and everyone could just initiate wire transfers without actually physically going to a bank. That's the big elephant in the room right now of it's never been easier to initiate a bank run.
Yeah, because you can instantly, if you have it connected, wire money from one to another.
Yeah.
And with PayPal and all these other services, super easy to do.
Yeah, and the bank wouldn't even necessarily know it right away, right? All of these withdrawals just get initiated, and then they get blindsided. They have no choice, right? It's been initiated. They have to start selling assets to cover. So there should be a significantly higher cash on hand requirement for banks in this era. There just should be.
So and this is another thing to keep in mind. SVB might have been okay had it not been for the bank run that started. They might have survived this.
Well, the problem
I'm not saying people shouldn't get their money. I'm just saying that, like, technically speaking, if a bank run doesn't happen, most of these banks will survive past that dangerous point.
Okay, yes and no. There's an important caveat here. To survive means you have to purposely limit your use of your money. I'm pretty sure they were buying Silicon Valley Bank at least bought 10-year treasury bonds, okay?
Yeah, they got to wait till those bonds, you know.
Yeah. So, first of all, they have to mature.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, mature. You have to go into an austerity mode as a bank customer for Silicon Valley Bank for 10 years. That's a bit unreasonable, right? So
in modern era, that's a poor investment.
Yes, especially for the shit interest rate they got on those treasury bonds.
Right.
So can you blame Peter Thiel and them for telling any VC, any venture capital company they backed to get out? I can't blame them. You invested that startup money because it's going to get burnt through quickly. These companies are cash burning companies.
Right.
They're not cash generating at that stage in their startup. So all those startups have to get out. If they don't,
so what you're saying is that the Silicon Valley Bank invested in a long-term, low-reward investment where the bulk of their customers are looking for fast turnarounds and quick cash.
Yes. Exactly.
which is just a bad business
They did
choice.
not balance their risk to customer at all.
No.
Not at all. So they, at the time, they thought interest rates were never going to go up again. But, you know, also the Silvergate, they're trying to blame crypto for that. It's not really. It's not because of crypto. A couple crypto companies collapsed, which was a problem, but it's more complicated than that. The Federal Reserve shut them down on the back end when they were about to secure a loan that they needed to stay solvent. So Silvergate got crashed by the Fed. Silvergate, people are not Silvergate. Signature Bank, they're saying, was prematurely shut down. So there is some controversy involved with two of the banks. Silicon Valley got effed hard though by a bank run.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I think they might have survived had it not been for the bank run. And I'm not blaming anybody who did it. Obviously, you know,
Well,
it's your
okay,
money,
Chris.
do what you want with it.
Every bank will survive if no one decides to test taking your money out.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like Silicon Valley Bank. Well, no, but here's the thing. I think Silicon Valley Bank could have survived a couple customers doing that, but they clearly couldn't survive the sheer number of customers that did it.
Yeah, there's some other banks that are just as bad as far as their risks, and that's why First Republic is getting decimated in the stock market right now, because they are just as bad as far as the unrealized losses. Now that's the key here for people to realize. Unrealized losses are the problem. So these bonds,
Right.
when you have the bonds and they lose value, right? Because you could no longer sell them for what you purchased them for. So you're in the hole on them, but you haven't sold them. So you don't have to mark it as a loss. So you being in the hole is not recognized by anyone. It's not really told in the reports except as like a little footnote somewhere. So unless you're actually
Holy cow.
doing a deep dive, yeah, Roku had almost $500 million.
Roku got hit bad. Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah. No, okay. So comment here, to Mike Little, if banks weren't deregulated, this wouldn't have happened. Actually, that is false. The deregulations that did happen had absolutely nothing to do with actually showcasing unrealized gains. So the Dodd-Frank actually created rules that allowed for banks to not report how underwater treasury bonds and those securities are actually reported. So you're not warned as a customer thanks to Dodd-Frank. So
wasn't he also put on the board after he left politics?
So Frank was actually on the board of Signature Bank.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And he's calling extreme horseshit on the reason they were shut down. He's saying he's saying that the New York. So technically, the Fed was actually shocked too. They weren't suspecting it. It was the state actors in New York City that went after Signature Bank.
That's bizarre.
They initiated it. Well, you have to remember, they were Signature Bank was, I guess they no longer are, the last major bank that was servicing crypto companies. And New York City and New York as a state is extremely anti-crypto these days.
Gotcha.
They've done like a Bitcoin mining moratorium and stuff as a state. So don't really, not a fan personally.
Yeah, and I did know that Roku was bailed out. In fact, all the companies that had their money at Silicon Valley got bailed out.
Yeah, I mean, blank check to those banks. The only bank that hasn't gotten a blank check is Silvergate. So no one's backed there.
Oh, Silvergate. I think that's Signature.
No, Signature is also backed. But just a FYI here, there was a bank that was trying. There was a bank trying to get approval in, I think it's Wyoming, to be basically a full reserve bank, actually 108% backed, and they were rejected by the Fed. So, yeah, they were denied their license. If you want to look into that, follow Caitlin Long on Twitter. That's an
Okay.
extremely fun rabbit hole.
I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about the banking industry, but what I am interested in, if I can find it, is all the tech companies that were impacted by this.
I mean, Roku is the biggest name I've seen as far as also just terrible financial management. I don't know who's managing risk at Roku for their finances. That
But they
person
did an
should
awful
probably
job,
be
apparently.
fired. Yeah. I mean, they had like 90% of their money in there.
No,
Um,
25%. So they had
was it
almost
only
2
25?
billion.
Okay.
Yeah, they said they had almost 2 billion total in value, and they had about 500 in the.
Where's the rest of it? Because
I have no idea.
last I heard they were struggling to make payroll. But that was maybe
that was their only. Maybe that was their liquid funds then.
There was is it Etsy? I think Etsy.
Oh yeah, Etsy was hit hard too.
Yeah, so they were taking out loans to be able to pay people basically. Etsy shop by and large was just they were using Silicon Valley Bank as like the go-between for customers, weren't they? Processing payments.
There's an SVB mug on Etsy now. That's too funny. Hey, Rubio's not wrong. Rubio's not wrong.
No, Rubio's correct. They will. I mean, the fact
That's what I'm saying. He's not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it was Silicon Valley Bank, they did not waste a minute to bail out that bank. Not once. And right now, Janet Yellen is over there, him and hawing on if she would back banks that she does not deem systemic risks. Well, if you ask a lot of people, Silicon Valley Bank is not technically is not a systemic risk bank. The risk from Silicon Valley Bank was perception, image in general, and the fact that almost all the banks are completely underwater when it comes to the treasury bonds they own. They're all like, there's trillions of dollars lost basically in treasury bonds because these banks haven't.
That's
today they raised the rate again. So all they did was make this issue worse on every single bank. People are saying that they had to raise rates because otherwise it would raise more concern among customers. Well, raising the rate should raise concern among customers too, because all it did was put all of these treasuries deeper in the hole.
Right.
And made it now where they're more likely to suffer a bank run if people actually call the bluff on their bank. First Republic, I think Pac West is the other one, Pacific West. Everyone saw Credit Suisse over there in Switzerland get wrecked, which that raises another question too, because they did a really sketchy thing with Credit Suisse's merger, purchase, whatever you want to call it. They changed the priority of the bonds in who gets paid. So shareholders are getting the money before the bondholders for Credit Suisse. They basically wiped out, I think it was many billions of dollars. So they just said, "Yep, lost money," which now raises a lot of concerns for other banks
too.
Yeah, I saw that about Shopify. None of these companies are actually affected now. That's the key. None of them are actually affected because they're getting bailout basically.
Mm-hmm.
Their terrible management is getting bailed out.
This is basically similar to the 2008, but not nearly as impactful.
You can't say that yet.
No, what I'm saying is where we're at right now is not 2008. Right now.
Well, we're in an early precursor.
It could get there. It could get there.
To say it's not 2008 is to be extremely premature in that prediction.
I'm saying right now, where we are at right now is not quite the level of 2008.
Yes, where we're at right now is
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything more or less.
Right now, where we are at could easily be the precursor months to 2008 in where it leads to, though. That's the key. Everyone forgets that 2008 was like a slow motion train crash. Everyone thought it was resolved, couple banks had issues, and then eventually you get to a point where it's a steamroller, just crushing everything, right? So
I wouldn't be 100% confident on that. I would not be confident on that.
you are under the impression that they really know what they're doing. The key is
They're
that
not.
every action the Federal Reserve and Treasury does is reactive. Every single action's reactive because they're going off of last month's
Well, hey,
data.
he's not wrong about it being housing in '08. That's not incorrect.
So,
but that was how the bubble started.
People forget that, well, one, right now we're actually on track to have a really terrible housing market this spring. People don't like the interest rates. Two,
the interest rates in the housing market are awful right now.
Yeah, people. Well, okay, everyone says that 6% interest rates is not bad historically, but you also forget the inflationary pressures that have, when you factor in how, mortgage rates with house prices to income ratios and everything, we're actually at near record highs for interest rates there, cost of buying a home and everything. But you also have to realize that auto loans, car loans, are terribly underwater. So if there's a domino that causes a bunch of issues, I wouldn't be surprised if the car loan market was a big player. They're already looking at how you can repo cars better.
So since we're doing banking and much more, I want to bring up this thing that I was like, no way, there's no way they're doing this. Let me pull up this and we can laugh at how stupid one of the companies in Michigan is right now. Yeah, this is it. Oh my goodness. I can't believe how stupid. Have you seen this yet? New Ford patents suggest self-driving cars repossess themselves.
Yeah, I've seen that, and it's not shocking given how many people are behind on their car loans. Dude, have you seen how expensive a new car loan is?
I have, yeah. That's why I get used cars.
It's insane. It is insane. And then
here's the thing. If that exists in the car, I'm going to point this out right now.
Oh, yeah.
That ability exists in the car.
I'm not buying that.
I would never buy that car. Because imagine some hackers like, I want to salvage like 10 cars in Detroit. They just roll down the road, type something into their laptop, and all of a sudden 10 cars go to the junkyard.
Dude, no offense to Ford, but they lost me when they made the Ford Lightning for their F-150 electric car. It's garbage. I don't know what to tell you, but the range on that car and everything is utter trash.
I mean, you really need to be able to hit the kind of range that a gas-powered vehicle can hit before I'll ever consider buying an electric car.
Yeah. I mean, when you have to constantly...
I hope this is sarcasm. I really hope this is sarcasm.
That... Have you seen how expensive a car loan is, Mike Little?
Oh, all right, fine. Let's go to Ford.com to find out how much cars are.
The rate...
I'm not trying to crap on Ford. Let's just find out how much they cost.
No, yeah, it'll be equivalent. They're expensive, man. Like
electrified. Oh, let's see what an electric Ford costs.
Obscene
not too bad actually.
Okay, Mike, do you know how many people can't afford to pay cash for their car? I'm not saying people can't.
I'm not saying people can't pay cash for their cars or can. I'm just, well, how come the 2023 Mustang Mach-E is ordered, not telling me what the price is? I mean, it's too expensive.
Okay, just do it. The average car now is basically in the 30s. Okay,
this is actually lower than I thought it would be. I'm kind of surprised. Well, I was thinking like trucks should be at least 50.
That's base model.
Well, let's find out what these are. Oh, and look at that. Gas vehicles are even cheaper.
Well, okay, that's base model, and sometimes they're more expensive at the lot.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
That's just saying. I mean,
I would never buy a Tesla at the prices those
Isn't the Ranger hard as shit to get a lot of the time? I think that truck is usually selling. I think that truck is usually selling above market value.
From the few people I know that bought them close to me, I can tell you the wait to get a Ranger is months.
Yeah, so it's not selling at 27,000. I can tell you that
Well,
car.
the packages
that truck
the packages that my family members put on them definitely drove the price a little higher.
I mean, they've driven much higher. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
he's not wrong.
Little,
So, dude,
Mike Little's over here in the
Rangers,
comments.
80s Rangers are the win. Okay,
They are, but
one of my first bosses when I first got a job out of college, he had a Ranger that he pushed almost to 1,000,000 miles.
yeah. Okay, wages are up across the board, but not as much as inflation. That's
Yeah,
just
the
a fact.
the fact is like wage and inflation, they should be at the same rate and they're not.
Yeah, they're no.
They haven't been for a long time. All right.
I mean, if you look at the charts for what WTF happened in 1971, then inflation and wages have not been maintained at all for the past 60 years.
I will say this, Mike. Although some of us are fiscally responsible, and it seems like you probably are,
yeah,
there's a lot of people that aren't. And that's why people default on their loans,
yeah.
even when rates are good, even when people have good money.
Mm-hmm.
People have lost the ability across the board to be fiscally responsible.
I mean, everyone is going off of,
when people are spending over $1,000 on a phone every year, like there's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I look at how much a car loan will cost today with the interest rates, though. It's a lot, man.
You know what the next bubble to pop's going to be? I was looking at them. You know what the next bubble to pop's going to be? Student loans.
Maybe.
No, the companies that are putting out all these student loans, like it's a super duper what's the word? Predatory. The behavior of the student loan companies is extremely predatory.
Mm. I was looking at the car loans. That's like you can't get one that's less than like $800 a month for a car loan.
Can't get a loan for that's less than $800.
That's like $800 a month. It looked like it's high, man. It is high, and there were apartments I've rented that were cheaper than that. Okay,
Well, you're not wrong with that. My wife's apartment forever ago was like $750 a month.
Yeah.
And she split it with her roommate, so you're talking like even half
man,
that.
back when I lived around you, that's what I was paying.
I believe that, especially when the apartment you had.
Hey man, it wasn't that bad. It was the other.
There was just nothing to do. There was just nothing to do.
Okay, not much more around where you live, Chris. Don't.
I got kids, man. There's a lot of stuff to do.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, I think the student loan bubble will pop.
Okay, but to Mike's comment, I don't think people will take those loans. They'll buy used.
People do. They do take the loans.
But guess what? There was a shortage, and the used car market value was going really high during the pandemic. I think you're underestimating how supply chains have really hurt that market. I don't know. People can more easily justify not buying a house with a terrible interest rate than they can not buying a car. That's the problem. You usually need a car for work. Now, you can say buy used, but when even the Ford Focus from like 4 years ago is going for $20,000, that's still a hefty car loan. I'm just saying. Yeah. And that's not even with low mileage. I feel like my Ford Focus that I purchased was a damn steal compared to what the prices are today. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely considered selling my truck because right now I don't have anything that I need the truck for anymore, and I can always get another truck.
Well,
yeah, you can. They're all used, but you can still get it.
No, I'm saying maybe not when you need one again.
We actually made money on our Ford Fusion when we sold that to Carvana.
Oh, dude, I could easily make money on my Ford Focus if I wanted to.
The
Easily.
Fusion, they stopped making it, so like some people really wanted it the year that they stopped making it, and we sold ours to Carvana for a profit.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if we should talk about. Wait, what is this? Oh, never mind. I already knew about that. That's not important. It's about Microsoft partnering with Boosteroid. Nobody cares about that.
I really don't think that the bank issue is over. They haven't even had the credit crisis yet that they're trying to have by raising rates. So if you pair that with the weakness from the treasuries, it's just a bad outlook for banks. 100%.
Can we talk about a very predatory behavior?
Which one?
Has
You have
nothing
to
to
be
do.
specific.
It's a gaming one.
What is that?
I gotta find it. Hold on.
Convincing people to pay extra money to get it released early. That's
No. You gotta see the prices on these things. This is ridiculous. Let me see if I can find
The
it.
fact that they implement gambling concepts into everything.
Look at the price on the memory for the Xbox Series X. $110 for 512 gigabytes.
Proprietary.
Yeah. Microsoft sold their soul to the Seagate devil, and now
That's hilarious.
Xbox gamers have to pay insane
how much more
money.
is it? How much more is it for the terabyte compared to
1 terabyte's $200.
Okay, how much for the other for 512?
$360. Oh no! This is 2 terabytes. For 512, it's 110.
I mean, 2 terabytes the best deal.
Not by much.
I mean,
So here's what happened.
save $40.
Microsoft signed an exclusivity deal for the Seagate to produce these specific NVMe drives that plug into the back of the Xbox. And originally, when the Xbox Series X launched, everybody was super excited about these because they were easy plug-and-play devices, unlike Sony, where you got to open the darn thing up and insert the drive in the back somewhere. Unfortunately, Microsoft partnered with the Seagate devil, and everything's super-duper expensive.
Dude, you're paying for convenience.
Yes, but this is the only game in town. Basically what happened was the demand for these is so low because of Game Pass that Seagate has not sold enough to make their money back yet. And so they are not lowering the price at all. And the only way people have managed to get something that wasn't Seagate to plug in the back, because the exclusivity's already run out, so people could produce these right now if they wanted to. But nobody's doing it because they haven't made their money back. Yeah. So there is a couple Chinese companies that sell the enclosure that can convert like a standard NVMe money or NVMe drive into this. Sorry. And so some people are doing that, but this is the only game in town.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't shock me at all. Also, Game Pass, you brought up my favorite portion of Microsoft.
See, look at this, paying for a monopoly.
Hey, Microsoft is trying to just, encourage Game Pass. That's all. Doesn't matter.
I mean, when
it's
you
working.
have the thing is like the Microsoft Digital Library is pretty robust. It's almost as robust as the Steam Digital Library. The only thing you really lose out on is like some 360 games have not been brought forward. So if you bought an Xbox 360 game, even an original Xbox game, Xbox One game, pretty much everything is compatible with the brand new system. So like if you continue buying into the Xbox ecosystem, you keep your games. Kind of like with Steam, you keep buying Steam games, your library keeps getting bigger. But since it's a console and it doesn't have all the functionality of a PC, the deal isn't nearly as good. I
just don't see why anyone would buy an Xbox these days. So that's my position on Microsoft these days. I don't see why anyone would buy it. You can get Game Pass on PC.
I mean, here's the thing: if you went back to like old articles about these Seagate drives, everybody was all happy about these things. Dude. And now everybody's complaining about them.
Okay, but like, have you seen Razer's concept PC for the fully modular PC?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Now that's what I want. I want someone to make that. That would be cool.
I still wanted Google to make their modular phone that they had advertised years ago that they never made.
It's not worth it. That's the problem.
What was cool was it had like these like they produced something that had extremely high bandwidth on every single connection.
Mm-hmm.
So want a faster processor? Pop it in. Want a faster camera or better camera? Pop it on. Don't want a camera, want a bigger battery? Pop it on.
Do you know what the problem? Cool. Do you know what the problem is, though?
Most people don't care.
Well, first of all, durability is probably a big issue.
You'd have to make it extremely durable.
It's probably a big issue.
You'd probably have to put like a full-blown cover over all the modules.
Yeah.
That after you put them on, then you boom.
Bulk
do that.
Was probably a big problem. So, I mean, uniformity, big problem. So,
it was a neat idea. I thought it was really cool.
It's a neat idea. It just has a lot of issues, and if Google ever released it,
I also don't trust Google.
Well, that, but also if Google ever released it, nothing ever comes without complications and problems. So it'd probably be starting fires in your pocket, or blowing off one of your legs, so you'd look like a World War II vet who shot himself with a Ruger. You know, yeah, I don't think that would ever go well, honestly, especially with Google making it.
All right, let's see.
But a modular PC makes perfect sense to me.
Well, yeah, that makes complete sense.
It makes complete sense.
All right, so if you guys are long subscribers of the channel, I want you guys to consider following us on Rumble. Starting next week, I finally figured out how to stream on there, and we're going to do it.
Starting next week, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't get it sorted out this week in time.
Here's a question. When does Microsoft just turn Xbox into basically an Apple TV?
I mean, it's almost there already.
Yeah.
I mean, the Series S is basically as close to an Apple TV as you can get.
Well, it's much bigger.
It's big. It physically is bigger, but not by much.
Not by
It really isn't that much bigger. It's like maybe double.
Oh, is it only double? An Apple TV's not that big.
Yeah, dude. Have you not seen how big the Xbox Series S is? It's tiny.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I mean, the Xbox. Yeah, I'll pull it up for you. Hold on.
Okay.
It is not big at all.
Dude, I stopped paying attention to Microsoft except for in these in these episodes because you and Will love it still.
Let's see. Let's see here. I want to find a size comparison.
Which the Apple TV is.
I have like.
It's not a terrible gaming device if you.
I have
use it for that.
This many Apple TVs in my house.
Okay, I just bought one, so. I agree with you about the remote being very intuitive and nice.
Extremely.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how nice it was to use for, my kids figured it out in like 5 seconds.
It's also nice just because it, removes.
So people must not be buying an Apple TV and an Xbox Series S because there's nobody comparing them online at all. Like, there's not a single comparison point in any of the
I wonder
pictures.
what the correlation between Apple TV users and PlayStation users versus
There's probably not many.
If you have a games,
Okay, well here
console,
you go. Here's the
already serves that function.
Here is the Xbox Series S versus the PS5. It's a lot smaller.
I mean, it's pretty wide.
No, it's actually it's like maybe 2 Apple TVs. It's really not that big.
It looks big to me.
Everything looks big to you because you're little. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
I guess when I put it next to the controller, it makes it.
Man, I would have thought somebody would have had the size comparison, but nobody apparently did.
No, just put it. See, okay, I see it next to the controller. Put it. Go back up. Go back up. Go back up. That one right there. Next.
Yeah,
to the
an Apple TV is about the size of a controller.
I mean, a little bit smaller. So it's like maybe 3 Apple TVs.
It's less than 3. It's like 2.5.
No, by square footage, it's 3 Apple TVs.
Okay, I still would say, like, any casual gamers out there, the Apple TV is a perfectly good device for you.
With the Apple App Store and everything? Yeah.
Yeah. Or just paying $5 a month for Apple Arcade. There's some serious winners in the Apple Arcade library.
Yeah. No, I was impressed by what I saw when I was at the Apple Store once and just saw them going through the whole thing for
I can't believe
the
there's not a
gaming.
single picture with both of them in it.
I'm not, but I'm not actually that surprised.
Hold on, let me see if I can.
People are
Size.
asking, is the Series S better than the Apple TV?
Yeah, people.
Well,
Well,
of course it's not better.
It depends
Just-
what you want.
No, of course it's not better.
It depends what you want.
Mm-mm.
If you want a gaming focused system, you will buy the Series S. If you want an entertainment and casual focused system, you will buy an Apple TV. They're actually not that far off in price either.
Well, just wait till Game Pass gets added to Apple TV. Wait, would it?
It's
ever
kind
get
of already
added?
there. It's kind of already there.
Can
Here's
you
the
play
thing:
it on your
if
phone?
you can do Game Pass on your phone. So all you need to do is get one of those little devices that plugs your phone into your TV. You don't even need an Apple TV for that.
No,
the
I'm
device-
sure. Wait,
the
how
device
do
to
you
go-
play it on your phone? Is there an app
It's just literally in your browser.
in your browser? I
It
guess.
runs in the browser.
Can the Apple TV go to a browser?
No,
No,
Apple did not include a browser on the Apple TV,
they might eventually.
but they haven't yet.
Do you know what
Whatever.
actually is really cool for the Apple TV that
What's
I
that?
haven't purchased because I feel like it's too pricey, but they have made it where you can take the Apple Home speaker and
directly connect it. Yep.
well, you could do two and basically get surround
Yeah,
sound.
have like surround sound. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Did
they
you know they
gave it.
removed? Did you know they removed from the Apple HomePod about like half of the speakers that they used to ship with it? So if you get
Really?
the newer version has less speakers than the old version.
Better? Are they better?
No,
Oh,
Apple's just saving money.
that's fair.
It actually sounds about the same from everybody I've talked to, because I'm pretty into the tech world. That's just kind of what I do. But yeah, I guess it sounds pretty much the same, but it's got like a far less amount of like basically that really high speakers, the tweeters. There's less of them. They still got the same amount of subs.
It's just less nuanced for the
yeah,
location.
Like the really crisp, high pitched sounds are still there. They're just not as powerful.
That's fine. I'm sure if you have two of the speakers, it's fine.
Right. All right. Let's see if we've got a video.
But just as the concept to replace like a sound bar, because sound bars are just terrible profile usually, for however you set them up. It's a cool concept. That's basically where I'm at with it, where it's like, oh, maybe I'll consider it in the future.
Gosh darn it! This guy's got an Apple TV and an Xbox, but it's an Xbox One S, not an Xbox Series S.
I'm sorry, Chris.
It's the wrong size. I can't even compare it.
Why are you over there comparing sizes still? I thought we're beyond this.
We're not. We will never be beyond comparing sizes because we're men, and that's what we do. And we're down to the one viewer. And we're down to one viewer.
Yeah, because of that
Yeah,
last
pretty much.
statement.
That's funny.
No,
I can't believe nobody's like that is the actual comparison I would do. If I was going to compare the casual stuff, that would be what I would compare to. I can't believe that nobody has done this kind of comparison yet.
It's not that outlandish. I don't think that many people actually have Apple TVs. I think that's part of the problem. The Apple
Really?
TV, yeah, I think the Apple TV is almost irrelevant if you want to use an Android phone TV.
I don't know, man. I really think
Who buys a TV that's not already a smart TV?
people that actually want good streaming.
I mean, you're not wrong, which is why I purchased one, because the streaming sucked otherwise. It was having issues.
Yeah.
But
Dude, there is nothing worse than a smart TV at streaming. Smart TVs are the worst streaming devices in everybody's house.
yeah, I'm not disagreeing, but
Like, if you want good streaming, you will not rely on a smart TV.
I mean, I've relied on a smart TV for long
I'm
enough,
saying you wouldn't.
but
I'm saying you wouldn't do it if you wanted good streaming. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, the quality is much better. I will give Apple TV the credit for that.
Dude,
I think
Apple kills it with the with the with their streaming. Their
yeah.
streaming is just
Well,
like hands down.
also, I'm not going to complain. I like the way they're doing MLS streaming too.
Yeah, you told me that before.
The quality's been good. Well, okay. If anything is going to sell Apple TVs, it will be their freaking sports thing, because apparently if you use the an Android version of the app or the web browser, anything for streaming Apple TV shows or sports or programs, whatever you want to call it, it is the shittiest quality I have ever seen in my life. But if you use an Apple product, it's great. It's fantastic. So I wanted to watch MLS, so I bought it a freaking Apple TV.
This is gonna be an expensive solution. My solution is Mac Minis everywhere. That sounds
Dude,
extremely
okay,
expensive.
honestly though, a Mac Mini's not the worst. It's not the worst price for what it is.
I'm not saying it's a bad price. I'm just saying like that's an expensive solution.
How expensive is it? No, isn't it like it's like
They're pretty
500?
expensive.
No, they're like 600.
Aren't they more than that?
No, the base model's like 600, I think.
They're getting cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, still, it's like at least 3 times the price of an Apple
I
TV.
mean, people would buy those and use them for Bitcoin nodes. So that's the thing.
Dude, I still have not found a single comparison between the Xbox Series S and the Apple TV. And that is like the first thing I would have compared. If I had one, I would have compared it.
How much is a Mac Mini?
I can't believe there's not a single one comparing the Apple TV to the Xbox Series S. Wow. Oh yeah, so just for the record, all of my consoles and stuff are in an entertainment center or somewhere away from my TV. My TVs, you can't see cords. Well, you can see a few cords, but not much.
Okay, so a Mac Mini is $600 for the base model.
The base model, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But how many people actually buy the base model?
Not
Probably
a
not as
lot.
many.
I mean, it quickly goes up to $1,000 if you want a lot of storage. The Mac Studio is expensive as shit too. So.
Yeah, it is. Holy cow! Have you seen those things?
I mean, it's like 3 of those Mac Minis stacked on top of each other.
Can't believe nobody's done this.
Starts
comparison.
at $2K.
All right, hold on. Apple TV 4K versus.
Put it next.
Xbox
Yeah, put it next to
Series
like a Mac
S.
Mini. Put it next to a Mac Mini. There you go. Try searching that. Okay.
Here we go. Maybe they did this. But it's not a picture of the two of them in the same room.
See,
I want to see the actual size comparison.
my only complaint about the PlayStation 5 is the fact that it's not easily hidden.
It's not at all. No, you cannot hide that.
No.
Everybody's gonna know you have a PS5.
Yeah. That's the ultimate, status symbol in this day and age. Apparently, just show off your PS5.
Oh man.
Which I feel like I have to. I feel like considering buying the new outer plastic colors because the white is obnoxious.
It really is. Like they could have done a lot of different things, and they chose to stick with that stupid color scheme. That's like white and gaudy.
Yeah.
Comparing size would be legit if there was a reason to have them out. Whip them out to compare sizes. Oh man.
Gosh, Chris.
Well, let's see if this person's got it. Hold on, let's see if this.
Why are you still, sir? You're just like down this rabbit
I want to
hole.
know now because like I'm so confused. Like, how is there not a single person comparing this?
Can't you just look up the dimensions of them?
Yeah,
both?
but that's boring.
Oh my gosh.
All right, fine.
There's 3 viewers here watching you sit there and look angry.
Yeah, but we're talking this whole time, so
That's
who
fair.
cares? We have not had a dead silent part of this podcast yet.
Somehow, that is an amazing concept.
I just want to point out that PlayStation has no business sewing anything.
Why are they sewing companies? That's my question for Mike Little.
He's probably meaning suing. I'm sure that's what he meant.
Well, you know, they could be sewing them together. I don't know.
You know, there was funny
Dickens,
story.
literally, right?
Did you know that Nintendo actually had a sewing machine component attachment like forever ago? Did you know that?
Yeah, so you can play games while your wife
No.
sews.
Nintendo sewing machine.
You know,
It was for the Game Boy. It was for the Game Boy.
It was fun for the whole family, Chris.
Check this thing out. This is ridiculous.
For the Game Boy, it had a sewing.
The Game Boy Color. Yeah, hold on. I'll show you. Check that out.
Wait.
Singer partnered with Nintendo to make a Game Boy sewing machine. So the processor that was running the sewing machine was the Game Boy.
It's kind of cool.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Young people were not interested in sewing. It was incredibly expensive to produce the digital interfaces. So they collaborated, Nintendo, with what's it called?
The company.
Singer. And so basically they used the Game Boy as the brains of the sewing machine.
They were like,
how smart
hey,
is that?
We can't.
Like all these kids, imagine this. You're like, oh, all these kids have these, Game Boys. They don't want to sew, but maybe they would if they could hook up their Game Boy to a sewing machine. I mean, it's kind of a silly thought process, but I could see it. It makes business sense.
I mean, they just put the processor in it, but yeah.
Well, processors are really expensive. Dude, they had a... That's why Nintendo was able to sell so many Game Boys at such a low price, because they went for like the low-end processors versus like Sega with the Game Gear and the Atari with the Lynx. And that's why I didn't chew through batteries as fast as those systems either. I mean, the Game Gears, you'd chew through like, 6 batteries in like 2 hours?
I never played any of those, man. I only played the Game Boy.
The Atari Lynx was just as bad.
Dude, Game Boy Color is still so legit, though.
Oh, yeah, it is. 100%. Like, I'm still... Have you ever... Okay, this is something I think you might actually be interested in then. 1 second.
I mean, I don't want to play it anymore, but it was legit as shit in the day.
Hold on. I think you would appreciate this.
I don't go for nostalgia anymore, Chris.
Check this out.
Okay, yeah, I've seen this. This is kind of cool.
It's really cool because actually it's got, once you hack it, you can throw an SD card in the side of it and play whatever Game Boy game you want.
I just don't find myself playing Game Boy games. I find myself saying I might as well just play it on the Switch.
Hey, I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying, like, the FPGA market is super cool. Like there's a couple companies that produce FPGAs. You'd probably be more interested in the Mr. Maestro, whatever it's called, project.
Which one is that?
It's hold on, I'll show you. The Mr. project. It's essentially high-powered FPGA. You just load whatever core that you want to play that day. So like you can have every core saved on a SD card, and then when it boots up, you load NES, you load a Super Nintendo, you load N64, you load Dreamcast, whatever core game you want to play, you load the core for it, and then you have your list of ROMs that your legally acquired ROMs, and you pick one from the list and you play them. And it plays it in like literally perfect quality. That's the thing about FPGAs, is they can literally emulate all these old analog devices.
Right.
I'm surprised they haven't figured out GameCube yet. But that's okay. My GameCube is perfect the way it is. But yeah, the FPGA project here is pretty cool. There's one more company that also produces, and I have this one, Retro USB. Oops. I almost bought several of the analog devices, but I just never got around to it. I have this, the AVS.
I still, when I sold my Vita, I forgot. I totally was not thinking about how much you would love that fucking thing. So maybe I didn't realize how much you loved the Vita when I sold it.
Well, the problem with the Vita now is I have platinumed almost all the games I ever want to play on it.
Well, you never played Unit 13, so
I have not played Unit 13. That is
yeah,
accurate.
which
Does that
was
have a multiplayer or no?
no, but that was like the one game that I actually enjoyed to a certain extent. Did you play the Uncharted game
The
that was on
Uncharted
it?
game is phenomenal.
Yeah, that was
That
the
was one
other
of the
game I
best
liked.
portable games that
They
Sony's
also
ever
didn't
produced.
completely like f it up with trying too hard with the back touchpad and shit.
I
So
mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the weird, like, scrape off this thing from the artifact
I was okay.
minion.
You didn't like that because I was like, fine, it's not the shittiest implementation. Like, okay, maybe the fact that I played Unit 13 made me appreciate Uncharted's Golden Abyss, was it? Yeah, I think.
I think the main thing right now is these companies that make these more niche products understand that their market is not as large as Nintendo
Right.
or Microsoft or Sony. And so they go for a meet the demand with the supply model. And so like
Yeah.
this company only makes so many. You know, Analog only makes so many. Meister is open source, build your own. You know, and then there's like Evercade. Evercade's another cool one. Evercade, I think it's .com. Is that the right name? Nope, that's not it. What's funny is the parent company is like called Blaze Entertainment. I believe that's the name. Blaze Entertainment.
So
Yeah, that's it.
I
Oh, it's Evercade Co. UK. That's why I messed up.
uh
But they just released a new console, and they know their market too. So like for
right,
example, they
right.
only produce
I
so
mean
many of
niche.
them, and that looks like a pretty high quality device. Look at that.
It's easy to make a photo look high quality, Chris.
But it actually, I've seen these. They actually look really nice.
Yeah, okay. I mean niche.
It's
It
like
doesn't.
imagine like a PS. It's like a PSP.
I
That's what it
mean,
looks
it's
like to me for a
something that you
PSP.
can. Okay. Here's the thing, too. Something like that, they're cheaper. They're not the worst priced device,
Yeah, I mean
right?
these are
So
like either 100 or 150, I believe.
I
They
mean,
added
you could
Wi-Fi and
easily
some other
buy
things.
something like
So
you could easily buy something like that at an affordable price for your kid if you don't have a lot of money to spend on the more expensive shit.
the
So
the main thing with Evercade is that unlike all those Chinese ROM handhelds that have like a million fake and real games on them. This actually sells licensed cartridges, and although it is
hmm
ROMs on the cartridges, you're paying for a legitimate copy of those games. So like
right.
they've paid the publisher or the developer or whatever to publish their ROMs on a brand new cart, and
Yeah,
then
I
you
mean
just
that
put that
makes you
cart in
feel better
Evercade.
about everything.
Yeah, exactly. So like you can get all these collections, and the nice thing is all the collections are between $10 and $30.
mm-hmm.
So like no matter what you buy, you're getting like $2 a game at most. So you're not spending a lot of money, and you're getting a lot. It's like getting a Steam sale with every purchase,
Well, it's a
but it's
little
all
bit of
retro.
a little bit of a shame that you can't custom a cartridge. They should add that as an option.
What do you mean?
Custom cartridge.
Right, but what do you mean by custom? Like put your
You
own
pay
games
you
on it?
pay extra to pick a selection of games you choose instead of having to buy multiple cartridges and with
Well,
extra games.
that's part of the problem though. Is the licenses they've gotten are for collections specifically. So
See,
like
that's
when you
my
buy an Atari cart, they're all Atari games. Atari makes their
yeah.
money,
Do you
and
know
then
what that
Blaze makes
tells
theirs.
me? It's basically the same thing as cable.
Well, it's like CDs.
No,
It's
it's
like
like
CDs. Like
cable.
bands will put a bunch of crappy songs on the same CD as a hit single, and then sell
No,
it to you for full
it's
price.
like cable, man, where you have to go buy a package because you can't just take certain channels. You have to take the whole damn
I don't know.
company's.
There's something nostalgic about you know getting an old school collection of games on a single cart. Like
Yeah,
I
I mean
have
it's
there's
not the
been so
worst,
many
but
times where I've considered buying one of these.
Chris, you have so many things already.
I do. That's why I convinced myself. Like if I was gonna buy something, it'd probably be this because it would just
How
replace. It
much
would
are those?
replace. They're like $200.
That's a lot though for what that is.
Yeah, but it's got. So for example,
What's the
on
battery life?
A decent. I mean, it's like a Switch, if not more. But the
Better
main
be
thing,
more.
the main thing with this is that screen inside of there
Yeah.
is 10 times the resolution of the original Game Boy. So like
Okay.
you're talking like the sharpest pixels you've ever seen for a Game Boy.
That's fair. That's fair.
And it
I
has
mean, it
like
was
it has a
pretty
whole bunch of really cool features. Like it has a
good. Yeah.
some filters that make it look like the original Game Boy, you know, the green screen
Okay.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got a music player that you can produce music on this thing.
Hmm.
It's got adapters to play Game Gear, Atari Lynx, and all kinds of other stuff.
I mean, it brings a lot to the table, so it's
But
not
the main
worst.
the main thing is if you want a Game Boy Advance that is even remotely similar in quality, like with a brand new screen inside of it with a backlight, you're paying the same amount of money. So you're not saving anything by not buying one of these.
I would be more inclined to buy one if it was the Game Boy Advance.
This plays Game Boy
Profile.
Advance.
No, profile.
Oh, profile. Yes, I agree with you on that. Like
Yeah.
so on eBay, there's a whole bunch of people selling the original Game Boy Advance form factor, not the SP, the original,
Yeah.
with a backlit screen mod, and even like a USB-C charging port. Because you know the battery, that thing sucked up batteries.
Oh,
like
yeah,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
a lot
the
of
point
people.
that the back panel would always freaking break, so that you had to have tape across the.
Oh, the battery pack. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
You had to open it so many times. The thing always ended up breaking.
There's this really cool company
I
called
don't know
Boxy Pixel. They make full metal enclosures for Game Boys.
Okay.
That
I was about
replace
to
the
ask,
shells.
do you know anyone who didn't have that thing break?
I don't think Trevor's broke.
Okay. I was
But
gonna
he
say
was
that,
he
well,
was
did
also
you
very
play it
delicate
enough?
with his. Yeah, he did play a lot. He was very
I just-
delicate with his.
I just remember everyone I knew had to have freaking Scotch tape holding it.
No, you know what was the worst thing to go over to your friend's house and pick up was Xbox 360 controllers. I swear every battery pack on an Xbox 360
yeah.
wireless controller was busted as all get out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you guys manage to break these? Like none of mine have broken over the entire time
Dude.
I've owned them.
That's why I was a fan of PlayStation controllers. They didn't.
Okay, but those batteries are trash now. You have to replace them.
I don't care. I don't care. It was a much better design at the time.
DualShock 3 is not a better. The Xbox 360
No,
controller is one of the most
okay.
comfortable controllers I've
I don't
ever
care.
used.
I actually like the DualShock. I thought it was a good controller.
I don't dislike the
Thought it was a
DualShock
good
3,
controller.
but my hands are huge compared to
give
the
a shit.
DualShock 3.
I don't give a shit. I thought it was a good controller. I thought it was a good controller.
Okay,
I
what's
actually
your
liked it.
favorite controller of all time?
Oh, fuck.
How's the PS5 compared to the PS4?
Oh, the PS5 is better than PS4.
Okay.
I like PS5s better than PS4. I nostalgia wise, I just think that the DualShock was a great controller.
I still prefer
But I
the
am
GameCube
partial.
controller.
I am partial though to the PS5 controller now. I thought the PS4 controller was okay. It still had enough elements of the DualShock that I didn't hate it. So
Although I will say the most ergonomic and comfortable controller I've ever held in my entire life. You're gonna laugh. I'm gonna grab it right now.
you're gonna say the Apple one or which one?
No, I like that one too though.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Wii U tablet, like this thing has grooves where you
I've
want
heard
them.
you say
It's
that so many
super duper like it's so ergonomic.
The thing I was gonna say though is my only complaint with the DualShock controller back in the day, after experiencing the 4 and 5 controllers, weight.
Oh yeah, yes, 100% agree with you on that.
There's something about the heavier controller that hits right.
I believe that.
So I think if you were to put more weight into a DualShock controller due to like an improved battery or something, maybe it might actually be better. It would make it a better controller.
Like put a bigger battery into it, give more.
Yeah,
weight.
like give it some more heft to it, type of thing. That might.
Do you know how many
improve
DualShock 3s I've taken apart and rebuilt from the ground up and fixed? A
it.
lot.
Well, actually, I'll say this with the DualShock, there was a difference between the one that came in
the 6-axis did
box.
not have the vibration at
Yeah,
all.
when they added the extra vibration with the
Sony got sued into oblivion on that one.
No, but when they added extra shit into the controller for the later models, it was a much better controller
Oh yeah, the
because it had more
6-axis
weight.
controllers were super light, and who would want that?
Yeah, when they added more weight to the controller, it did improve. Personal opinion.
I would agree with that, yeah. And you know, as much as I don't really play any games that I use vibration with at all, like it is
Yeah.
nice to at least have it when you want it.
Right. I've noticed one thing too. They've with the trigger buttons on the PS5, they've added like a vibration resistance concept to it.
Yeah, they stole that from Xbox. Xbox
Yeah.
had that first.
No, I know they did. I'm just saying they've added it. It's a nice touch. I'm not gonna lie. Dude, talking about the PS3 though, the game that was most disappointing to me on that console because they never did anything with like, okay, this is a game that was released in like beta form. It only ever stayed in beta form, and they released it at the end of the PS3 life cycle, and had no intention of bringing it to PS4, and that is Dust 514. And that game was so much potential to Dust 514, to the point that the company that makes it is the same company that makes EVE Online, and they recently announced that they're going to work on a new game, but they're not trying to bring Dust 514 back, so I'm kind of pissed with them.
I did not realize Gran Turismo sold as well as it did.
It always sells well. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, haven't they not made one though since the PS3?
Gran Turismo? No, there's one
PS4?
that was released on PS5.
Oh, okay, but I think they skipped the whole PS4 generation, didn't they?
Might have.
Yeah, I think they did.
But yeah, Dust 514, man, that game was legit.
Uncharted is such a great series. Dude, Naughty Dog cannot produce a not best-selling game. Unfortunately.
Was 2 a bestseller still, technically?
Last of Us Part 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sold more than Last of Us Part 1.
That's so disappointing.
Sadly, it sold... Well, I guess if you include all the versions of the first game, probably not.
You mean the fact that I bought like 3 copies?
I don't remember how many re-releases.
3. It's been on every console.
I'm curious how many copies that sold. I hope it sold more than the second game. The first game is I don't really like Last of Us because of the controls, but that was a.
Are the controls that different from Uncharted?
I just didn't like it. Well, I think it was more the way the enemies move than anything else.
Yeah, I don't think you liked the combat. That must be more.
I did not like the combat. Part 1 PS4 sales because it sold 7 million on the PS3, and it was like one of the last first party games to release on the PS3.
It was, yeah. That's why it was so annoying to go to the PS4.
Yeah, I wonder how many they've sold. How many copies Last of Us Part? Holy cow!
A lot.
10 million on the PS4.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's not that crazy, man.
That game was the Last of Us franchise has sold 37 million copies.
Yeah.
So 10 plus 7 is 17. So it still could be that the Last of Us Part 2 sold more.
No, there's no way. Do you know how many sold on PS3?
It said 7. 7 million.
No, I thought you were talking about on 5, whatever. 5, I guarantee the new one sold a lot on 5.
Okay, so The Last of Us Part 2 for the PS4 only sold 10. 10
okay.
Million. I mean, and I say only, but that's a lot.
I'm just saying that's about the same as the remastered then for Part 1.
Now I'm curious, what are the best-selling PS5 games?
Best-selling PS5 games? I don't know, man. Well, are you saying exclusive? Because that's difficult.
No.
Oh,
I'm just saying in general. I mean, it's probably Grand Theft Auto because it's always Grand Theft Auto.
Did that come back out again?
I guess there's not a lot of either. There's not a lot of sales data yet,
That
or
that, that can't possibly be accurate.
it probably isn't. Yeah, Alex says parts of this article need to be updated.
Yeah, dude. Okay, look up Dust 514. As a Halo fan, you would probably like this game.
Oh, you know what? I remember this game. I remember it being advertised. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could resurrect this CCP.
They
game.
should resurrect it.
They could resurrect this with Bungie because they have Bungie. They could easily.
Well,
resurrect
no,
this
this isn't a Sony game company. This
it's not.
This is
Okay.
an independent studio. They just did exclusivity with PS3 at the time.
Hold on. Oh, Eve, next Eve Universe F. So they're making a new Eve FPS.
I think so. Yeah. Well, they announced announced a game called Legion back then, and then which was supposed to basically be Dust 514 for PC, I think, and then they didn't really have much success bringing them to market, and now they've announced a new thing where they're kind of coy on it. The only game that seems like it's been successfully released is Eve Valkyrie for the PSVR, which, I mean, that's one of the few games that makes me want to buy one. Because it actually does look hella legit for VR.
Yeah, I think they're just not releasing sales data.
They're not.
on any of this stuff.
No, they're just not releasing PS5 sales data. That's what it is.
I don't see any data on sales. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're just not releasing sales info.
That's lame. Okay, what's your opinion on $70 games?
Inflation's a bitch. That's what my take is. No, okay, fine. My take is it's inflation. I don't necessarily see it as, I don't think we're getting more value. I don't think the value of the game has gone up at all, but it's been $60 for like what, 20 years?
See, here's the thing. I think that if you're going to sell a game for more money, you need to do. You cannot have microtransactions in the game. I refuse to pay more than $60 for a game that has microtransactions.
But is this inflation? That's my question. Because, like, think about it. It's been $60 for the past, like, what, 15 years?
I mean, movie prices haven't really gone up either.
Yeah, which is, I mean, they still need to get paid more to pay for everything else that's gone up in prices. So a part of me is willing to accept $70 games just because it's like, I mean, they didn't even, it's not the worst price increase. I mean, it's greater than 10%, but it seems about right to keep up with inflation over a decade. At the same time, though, it does kind of suck because it's not like it's gotten more expensive to make a game.
It really hasn't. Like, in this entertainment industry can pretty much survive on like little to no inflation because it is just a bonus thing that people buy because they want it, not because they need it.
But I will say this.
If anything, I say the quality of games have gone down.
Movie ticket prices and everything, though, have gone up.
Have they, though?
I feel like they have. I feel like every time I've gone to the movies, it's been more expensive. So, unless you take advantage of the cheap times.
Yeah.
Which I do, because I'm cheap. But...
I'm willing to go to a matinee. I'm willing to go to a matinee.
I'm always willing to. No one's there. It's the perfect time.
So
I mean, the theater near you actually has great matinee.
The seats are legit too.
Dude, okay, one, my cheap ass went to
Miley? What are we talking about? Miley Cyrus
no,
now?
my cheap ass went to the movie theater near you back when I lived around there. And if you went to a movie, as long as the start time was before 5 p.m., it was only a $5 ticket. I went to 3 movies on a weekend. I just went.
Might as well.
Yeah, I was like, screw it. I want to see these movies, so I guess I know what I'm doing today. So I went to the first showing and just kept going to movies throughout the entire day and saved a shit ton of money.
Do you want to have some fun with the last little bit we do here?
Sure.
So we just browse one of those fun subreddits and read the things, like one of those "Am I the you know what?" or something
Or
like that.
do we want to give a hint about what you were tweeting?
Oh yeah. So starting next week, maybe Mike will like this.
Mm.
We're gonna be running a new, like, at least monthly podcast that either will replace one of the other podcasts per month, or it'll be its own day of the week. I don't know yet what we're gonna do, but it's our CHRILLCAST book club called
Printed and Pressed.
You can go follow the Twitter account. Hold on.
Handle on Twitter is Printed and Pressed.
And we're still working on a logo. I haven't
Yes.
gotten around to it yet. But twitter.com/printedandpressed. There it is. So we'll be putting on a schedule.
Yeah.
We're
Trying to
putting on
make a schedule
here
for
soon.
books so that
Yep.
anyone who wants to read at the same in advance to what we're trying to talk about, that should be available for you. And we're playing around with concepts, right? Potentially trying to do associated Twitter Spaces so that maybe more.
We'll see how that goes.
engagement.
I don't know how that's going to look yet.
Potential.
Did I tell you? So we do have a locals account. Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah, we do have a locals account. I don't know if we're ever going to use it, but we have one.
That's fine.
You're welcome to hop on there if you want notifications every time we stream on Rumble.
But yeah, I mean, do we want to say what book we'll be doing first? Or
Sure, why not? For all 2 that are watching right now.
yeah, I mean, hey, this is technically being recorded, so
Fair enough.
what book is it, Chris?
It is The Scarlet Letter. No, I'm just kidding.
You didn't want to read about your biography, Chris.
I actually almost said that on purpose, not even realizing I was saying the wrong book, and then I realized midway through it's that's not even the right one.
Okay, well,
No, we're reading 1984. No,
Okay.
we're gonna read the Screwtape Letters.
Yes, the Screw Tape Letters.
And following that, we'll probably do some more C.S. Lewis, but we'll see.
Potentially.
Then the Bible. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, Chris, you're just going down a whole theme here. A whole theme of sin to redemption is what I just read. What you said.
Then we're gonna read Game of
I don't know if you
Thrones.
did that intentionally, but
We're gonna read Game of Thrones. Oh no, I'm just kidding. I will never read the Game of Thrones.
one, that's one single book. It's A Song of Fire and Ice is the whole series.
See,
which is
I
not
always
even
liked-
completed yet.
That's a brand of.
What? The books are actually fairly good, I would say. You might actually like them.
You don't know the other brand that uses the name Fire and Ice?
I know what. Yes, but. Oh my gosh.
Man.
I mean, there's-
I have to wonder if one day George R. R. Martin was like, well, haven't used one of those in a while. Maybe I'll write a book about it.
No. Oh my goodness.
Is he even married?
Yes.
Do you have any kids?
All right, wait. I think he's married.
Oh, let's find out.
I don't
I'm
think he
curious
has-
now.
I don't know if he has kids.
That's what I'm wondering. Who's he gonna pass on his estate to? I mean, look at Tolkien. He had people passed on to for years.
No one's intent. He doesn't intend for anyone to finish reading his books because he doesn't plan on writing them. So
Family. Let's find out if he's got a wife and family or not. He does have a wife, Paris McBride, whoever that is.
Sounds made up.
Is that a real name? Paris McBride? Yeah, it is. I think
It's a
it is.
real name. Paris Hilton exists.
No, but it's double R's. It's kind of weird. Oh, yeah, there's his wife. Okay.
Yeah. She needs to.
It turns out he did have a wife back in like the 70s, though, so maybe he does have some kids.
Maybe.
Somebody to pass on
she
his.
needs to yell at him more. Nag
To finish
him
his
about
books?
Winds of Winter.
Oh, well. It is what it is.
I don't know, man.
Okay. So, yeah, next week we're going to talk about Screw Tape Letters. You
Yep.
know, one of the most famous C.S. Lewis books ever. It's not very long either.
It's a very good read.
Highly
If
recommend
anyone
it.
wants to read it in advance of our discussion,
I'm sure there's
technically it
enough
was
people that
supposed to
read
be
it.
tonight's episode, but Will had to
Yes,
postpone.
darn Will. Too busy for us.
Yeah.
I switched it to Wednesdays for him at 8:30, and he's missed like half of them.
Dude,
Oh man, too funny.
that is
Is what it is.
We just have to give him a little bit of shit.
All right, let's do a little spicy clip at the end here that I can clip into something else. What do we want to talk about?
A spicy clip.
Oh, you know what? So here's something we can talk about.
Okay.
Rumble. Do you think that can actually compete with YouTube?
What do you mean by compete?
Like viewership.
No, but
So here's the thing. I've been seeing some numbers. Like, there are definitely some creators that have moved to Rumble and have far more viewers on Rumble because of how bad YouTube's algorithm has gotten at favoring specific content and not favoring other content.
that's the thing. I think.
Whereas I feel like Rumble's still the Wild West right now.
I think Rumble competes because it actually allows community dictation of content. It's not trying to, grand narrative anything.
You ain't gonna find no CNN on Rumble.
I mean, they might be willing to put it on Rumble eventually. You could still find it, just saying.
I think I know why they removed the dislike button on YouTube. I got some theories on that.
No, there's actually I won't go there.
Well, I will say this: a lot of corporate videos on YouTube, like for example Nintendo, they put out something that's a real stinker of a video, and immediately it's like the worst dislike video of all time. That's not why they did it.
There is a correlation to a couple politicians and what their ratios were, and the fact that it went completely against. It was like clear evidence that people didn't like the shit that was being said.
Right.
And they want that to be the narrative, so they turn off the dislike option. It's pretty simple, right? If you have open disobedience on your own video, that is supposed to be the propaganda. How it's like, okay, you can't even pretend like everyone agrees with this and that this is the main this is the truth, right? So
right.
The Ministry of Truth concept has to remove the evidence that people disagree.
So just for the record, I'm going to state this right now. I am 100% anti-censorship of any idea.
Oh, I agree.
Now, if you're doing something illegal, that's a different story.
Whoa.
If you're going on Twitter trying to sell some illicit drugs, I ain't going to defend you.
Okay, Chris. They have the right to publish the content, which then can be taken down by court order for being illegal.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I ain't defending illicit activity online. Okay, if you participate in illicit activity online, that's on you.
Yeah, and that video content should be preserved as evidence for the court case until it is resolved, and then you get rid of it. Yes. Okay.
Well, no, I'm saying across the board on social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram,
Yeah.
I think that there should be certainly limits to the amount of skin you're allowed to show on platforms to a certain extent because kids under the age of 18 on these platforms. But that's a different story.
On a certain level, you could, if it's depending on the website, if you can claim that it's like a public space, thus like the non-published its platform status, then it should be treated like it's a public space, literally
This
public
is
and decent exposure.
I hate this example because this is technically illegal to do unless there's an actual fire. It's illegal to do that because you are distressing the public on purpose by yelling fire in a theater. If
But
there's
you are
no fire.
allowed to yell fire.
If there is a fire.
You're legally allowed to yell it if there is a legitimate reason.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's so anything that would cause a widespread panic in a public space is usually frowned upon, if not illegal in some cases. Like, for example, you cannot yell a specific explosive device in a public space and expect to not get fined for disturbing peace.
The laws are a bit wonky, but the Supreme Court has kind of gone against that thing that you can't yell fire in a movie theater. It's not exactly an up to date. It's not exactly an up to date anecdote that people are using. Just saying.
So the other thing is like inciting violence and just rhetoric in general are two different things. It's like inciting violence would be like me saying, "Hey Andrew, go do this." That's me telling you to do something that's not okay.
I just want to point out that both of those examples are such slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. No, I agree.
That you cannot put them in vague terms without dramatically I think
the thing is when it comes to speech though, there needs to be a burden of proof that the speech that was used led to something else. Like they have to have a significant burden of proof.
Okay, Chris, someone could say our talk earlier in the podcast about the banks, right, is us yelling fire because not a single bank has enough money to cover all of the deposits.
That's not illegal to say.
No, but we're yelling we're quote unquote yelling about it in a room of people who, on the internet, for the whole world to hear that the banks are insolvent technically, and that causes panic and causes the bank to collapse. Exactly how you said that if no one bank run them, they wouldn't collapse. Yeah, that's technically causing panic. Just like inciting violence. What is inciting violence specifically? That could be a very broad interpretation.
Now, here's what I agree on with Mike here. If I said specifically, go take this specific person out, yeah, I think that's probably not something you should say.
I mean, giving a direct order to specific violence is inciting.
I think that is
violence.
Technically illegal to do that.
But if you are saying like you have every right to be outraged by like person A, I don't think you should be in trouble for inciting violence if something were to happen because you're just calling out behavior and why.
No, I do not personally believe that somebody who says something online is actually guilty of what somebody does in real life. So let's say I say we'd be better off burning down XYZ than living with that in our neighborhood. Let's say I said that. Right. I don't know what XYZ is, but let's just say I said it. And some dummy goes out and does that. I didn't tell that person to do that.
No, that's the thing. It's not a direct. You're not direct.
I just said we'd be better off without those things. That's all.
I mean, it's one of those things, right? Where it's like, at what point does hyperbolic speech become inciting violence? Because hyperbolic speech is not necessarily
it occurs
bad.
Everywhere all the time.
Right.
So like,
I don't know. The inciting violence one is a thing that there's a difference between ordering, right?
So like, there is like, if you incite a riot, like I know that's technically on legal terms something it's not legal to do, but that would require you to physically start a riot. Yeah, it's hard to prove. That's what I'm saying.
Well, okay, that's the thing though. Inciting a riot is not necessarily that you have to give an order to like commit property damage, or you have to like start the property damage, in my opinion, to actually incite one. I don't think you can even I don't think that there's a good way to say someone's words incited a riot without like an order to do something that is riotous. If that makes sense.
Okay, but here's the thing. Like, if you say, like, I think one of the things that people forget is the internet is forever. So if you say something stupid, you might not be employable on the internet, right? So, like, I've always been careful to only say, like, exactly what I mean all the time in context. But if you say something stupid and people take it out of context, your career could be over because people are dumb and cancel culture is a real thing. And when you just, I don't know, the internet is a both very cool and very dumb place.
So the question's this, Chris. Doxing
That should be illegal. I think it
should
is.
be, but it's not. That's not considered inciting violence currently.
Huh.
No one's getting arrested for doxing people, are they?
I guess not.
No. So if you want to talk about something that is inciting violence, like what's more provocative than doxing somebody?
I'll tell you what's more provocative than doxing somebody.
Where you know people are enraged about somebody. That's
No.
what I'm saying.
What's more dangerous than doxing is swatting, and nobody should do that.
Okay, that I was about to go there too.
That is way more
That is a
dangerous.
legit crime. I mean,
It is.
yeah, but I mean, people get arrested for that.
And they should be.
Not necessarily for the inciting violence or like the violence against the other individual aspect. It's more so for like waste of police resources and false claims. But there's a legit act of malice and violence involved in swatting.
Oh yeah.
But as far as a clear-cut example, though, of inciting violence, it's like if you're not willing to prosecute doxing, when you take and find a mob of people talking about how someone's like basically the devil or something, and you give them the red meat of their location, like that person's location to the mob, how is that not
Or like real-time tracking too.
Right.
But yeah, it sounds like you got a little friend that needs to go outside, so I probably should.
No, my dog is trying to get my cat. So
Oh.
he's a little corgi who's in love with the cat that effing hates him. So she stays at a distance. He whines and pines, and she hisses and calls him rude words.
But yeah, I've always said like my main thing with censorship and all that is like sunlight is the best disinfectant. If somebody has a bad opinion, then censoring that opinion will only make them feel like a martyr, and allowing that opinion to exist and people to basically stomp on it online will allow that person to have at least a chance to change a bad opinion or fight you to debate on it.
In other words, another way when you simply ban speech, right? You do martyr them in a sense.
Exactly. That's
But
what
you also make it where you appear incapable of debating or disproving their claims, and the only way to fight their truth is to silence them, which adds credence. And then other people might say the same thing, and because why can't you question it? Well, where do you draw the line of banning? Because you're going to start banning the people in their peripheral, who then go join them in the secluded darkness to talk about how they're now victims and how they have these truths that they're not allowed to share with people. And there's no arguments to refute them because you've now removed them from the counter opinions. So it's like you're just creating a worse monster if you ban.
I guess so. Here's the thing, like, and I'm gonna say this right now, just because one person holds I don't know, let's just say somebody has a degree in something and somebody else doesn't, that doesn't mean that the person with the degree is more correct in their opinion. Like, even if I studied electronics my entire life, there might be some tinkerer in his basement who knows more about electronics than I do. Just like somebody who's a medical doctor could be insanely smart, know a lot of things. But, there's a lot of really smart people that never went to college, and they are way smarter than we will ever be.
Hey.
And so I think there are opinions that are construed as facts online because people think they're smarter than everybody else. And just because you are capable of getting a degree at a college or wherever you get it from does not make your opinion or your hypothesis more correct than somebody else. Now there are stupid people out there, don't get me wrong. There are definitely stupid people and their opinions are not facts.
I mean,
But
Chris,
yeah.
the key here is a lot of people will hide behind credentials and what they learned once as saying that is the final word on something, that it is just never up for debate ever again. When we in fact know plenty of times history books, whatever it is, many topics have had to go back and be rewritten because there's new evidence and something should be questioned.
Right.
There's plenty of times where hubris and pride, because some professor doesn't want to go back and basically make their whole career, their whole professional career, irrelevant because they've been saying something wrong and staking their entire persona and credentials on a discovery or something that they got wrong at some point. That's their entire fame, will be that they were wrong.
But they're unwilling to change.
They're unwilling to change. Yeah, that's like, there's so many things like that, especially
I wrote the book, bro.
Yeah,
read my book.
That's something like archaeology, for example. That's a huge problem in that field. Same with medicine or even science in general. Like, think of how many you were talking about tinkerers. Okay, who made the steam engine for the locomotive? It wasn't some scientist somewhere. It was some tinkerer.
You said the magic word. You said persona earlier. Oh, I love it. Okay.
But like, you get what I'm saying? Like, even the Wright brothers, they're not some scientists or something explaining exactly why what they made works either. There's tinkerers who discover something, and then there's a bunch of scientists who try to explain why it works the way it works. But they're not out there creating the thing either. So it's like, there's a lot of nuance to those opinions, perspectives, and sometimes you just don't question something that should be questioned.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I mean, for example, in I believe it was the 80s or the 90s, maybe actually it might have been the 70s and 80s. I don't know. I don't got resolved before the early 2000s. But basically, what science was telling people in the health industry that they needed to pasteurize or heat up the blood to kill off anything inside of it. And what they didn't do was exactly that. They didn't do it. They kept treating the blood the way they had been doing. And a lot of these patients who needed blood for transfusions for whatever disease they had, it's like that that royal blood disease where you can't clot.
The one where you can't clot. It's basically the Queen Catherine issue.
And basically the industry ended up accidentally, or not accidentally, in my opinion, it wasn't how do I say this, maybe unintentionally but ignorantly on purpose, gave all these people HIV, and because Chris, they didn't treat the blood.
Chris, the guy who basically came up with washing your hands as a procedure for doctors.
That guy. The medical board tried to stifle him entirely.
Dude, can
you believe that?
Made him insane. They labeled him insane. And everything.
And he did a very simple. So the whole origin of that, it was a very simple study. He just said, all right, these doctors are going to wash their hands, and these doctors aren't, and we'll see which one ends up with less infections.
And because they would go from dead bodies to pregnant women, and they killed. The mortality rate for women who gave birth went down dramatically for people who
did a lot, But imagine that,
they
washing your hands.
Him,
I know they did.
Ruined him.
Maybe we should do a podcast on like historical figures like that. That would be fun.
Okay, think about all the things, right, where medical science has claimed something, right? They've claimed something that's blatantly wrong. Okay, like
for example, there are really serious breakthroughs in the medical field, like laparoscopic procedures are really cool.
Yeah.
Like that is a super life-saving thing. But then there's other things where it's like, wow, what were we doing giving, laudanum to pregnant women in the 50s?
I forget what that one was.
Quaaludes, that's what it was.
But they were giving that one that caused that one medicine that caused limbs to come out not
Wasn't that
long enough.
laudanum? Am I missing?
No, it was something with a TH, I thought. I mean, okay, fine, screw it. It's been brought up in the chat by Mike.
No. We're not doing that one.
No,
today.
but okay.
We're gonna leave that one alone.
Okay, I'm just gonna point out something. When you look at the data for 90% of them that have ever been made, there is literally a case to be made that sanitation practices are a major contributor, and that the actual
I would agree with that.
Actual treatments did not actually get introduced to the general public until the trend was already in a downward projection. So, like, it was already going down when the actual treatments were being put out there.
Here's what I can say on that. I'm not going to say a lot because I don't want us to get any more into this topic right now. But what they have been able to prove is that people who have gotten these treatments, what we'll say.
No, I'm talking about in general, not the new ones. I'm talking about.
No. I know what you're saying.
Okay.
They have been able to prove that between 0 to, I think it's like 15, maybe 20 years, the risk of infection from the diseases that they got treatments for was extremely low. What they don't know is the long-term impacts of those treatments. That's what they don't know, because the industry that produces them, this is documented, I think, on maybe even the FDA's website, but when they were originally creating them, essentially what they did was they said, well, we don't need long-term studies because the short-term benefits outweigh any long-term risk. This is essentially what it came down to.
So, okay, I'm gonna just lay out a simple fact here, since a certain disease was brought up in the chat. Polio.
I don't think that's a good one to talk about.
Polio. Do you know how you get polio, Chris?
Isn't it fecal matter?
Yes. So what would be the greatest way to prevent the spread of polio?
Cleanliness.
So if you have dramatic increases in cleanliness and sanitary behaviors, how are you going to spread polio?
I can think of a few ways.
Okay, but I'm just pointing out that that's a thing that's brought up. So it's like, if you look at it as if one single thing could possibly ever completely counteract the benefits of just cleanliness in general, that is a terrible mistake to make. Like, you have to factor in that cleanliness and improved sanitary behaviors by society at large.
I don't think Andrew's saying this at all. I don't believe he's saying that the cleanliness in the medical industry has increased significantly.
Not just that, but like people in general should have.
Hygiene has definitely improved.
Has dramatically improved. Though, if you look at it, certain diseases are coming back in places like San Francisco, where fecal matter is everywhere.
In the streets?
Yes.
Literally? That's so gross.
They've even found the bubonic plague again among homeless people. So,
Mike, he's not talking about everywhere. He's talking about where, like, the first world countries, I think is what he's mostly talking about.
Yes, I'm talking about first world countries.
Because, obviously we don't have Ebola breakouts like Africa does. I mean, we just don't.
If you okay, let's just even what he's trying to, take in a very strawman way here. If you look at it, compared to 100 years ago, sanitary hygiene
has gotten way better.
Capabilities for the globe has dramatically improved. I don't you can name one effing continent that is completely screwed, basically, but even parts of that continent are very sanitary.
Oh yeah, no. If you live in a how do I want to say it? If you have your own residence in a country where you have some kind of hygiene, you're living much better than anybody 100 years ago. It's just a fact.
I mean, think about.
We also don't have lead cups we drink our beer or wine out of, so there's that.
That too. Yeah.
Which used to break down the cups and give people lead poisoning. Holy cow.
I mean, they used to think that there was all that talk about how tomatoes were poisonous at one point because if you had pewter, silverware, like foodware and everything, it would actually interact. The acid would interact with the pewter, and you'd get poisoned. That's the issue. So it was bad for wealthy people.
I believe that.
But you know,
now, hey, here's something I will say. If we wanted to clean up the rivers and the oceans, the quickest way to do it is stop putting things in plastic.
Dude,
just flat out stop.
Dude, our rivers are significantly cleaner than they were 50 years ago.
I agree with that.
They're significantly cleaner than they were 75 years ago. I mean, rivers in Ohio were literally starting on fire. Okay.
After that train wreck, I don't know if the Ohio River is that
fair.
much better.
I'm just saying that the rivers literally caught on fire. They're not that dirty anymore. Now, I'm not trying to say.
Oh yeah, the rivers did literally catch on fire. I forgot about that.
Yes, they literally did.
I forgot about that. Gosh.
But those are things that we have improved over the years. There are other countries that are significantly worse. I'm not claiming that, but I'm also not looking at their health data either.
Me either.
Like, you're never going to see me drinking water from the tap in India. I know what goes into their river. They just float bodies down it. I'm not drinking water there. But
so here's a funny story. I believe it was the UK that they used to have so much bad, like their sanitation and cleanliness was so bad that there was cholera outbreaks consistently.
Dude, New York was too. New York was terrible until they got the white. What was it? They were all in their white shirts and suits and everything, and they were going around as the sanitation crew. If you watch The Men Who Built America, there's a whole thing on it. Back when horses were still around pooping in the streets. I'm just like, there's a lot.
Here's the thing, like no matter where you get your water from, the best thing you can do is put a filter on it.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of AquaTrue. Not a sponsor. I just use it.
I have I just use I have a Whirlpool whole house, and then I have a pure water filter on my tap. But between the two of them, I get the sediment and the carbon filter, so good to go.
Yeah,
it does a really good job, actually.
I just going back to one thing real quick. Since somebody in the chat is extremely uppity about a certain topic, how do you explain definitions being changed?
No, I'm cutting you off right there. We're not heading down that route. No. We're not heading down that route, okay? We're not heading down that route.
Come on. You're not allowed to ask questions when
we go on Rumble, you can have this conversation on Rumble. We're not doing it on you. We're not going to tank our YouTube channel.
I'm not getting into specifics, Chris. I'm just saying when an established definition is changed willy-nilly, so the experts are allowed to change a definition to suit their needs, but you're not allowed to question the changing of the definition? Where's the logic in that? That's my question. Right? Credentials allow you to just change a definition willy-nilly.
There goes our YouTube channel.
No, not a single thing has been said specifically in that. That is generalizations. Fine.
You want to go down that rabbit hole? Wait till Rumble.
Fine, I'll wait till Rumble.
All right. Anyways, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about.
Really?
Yeah. Will would appreciate this. Fungus outbreak. Did you hear about this?
Oh, I've heard something about it.
Might as well talk about it. Deadly fungal infection. They keep saying deadly, but if you look at the numbers, deadly? No, hold on. Look at the numbers. The total. Stop. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Sorry.
In 2019, there was about 700 people that died from this, and then in 2020, that it was about 700 some. And then there was, in the next year, 2021, there was about 1,500. Year 3, 2022, they're claiming it was around 2,100. So it's increasing by about 100% each year, but it's still 2,000 or less.
This
And
is
what they're saying about it is that the bulk of people who get it are already in the hospital. So here's my question.
Oh, this is that thing that's in the hospital and it's like impossible to kill.
How does it keep getting into the hospitals?
I don't, dude. It's because of the over sanitation.
You think so?
Yeah, dude. It hasn't. I remember watching the NBC, ABC, whatever NBC profile on this thing way back in the day. There was like an over sanitation concept in hospitals where
Yeah, they
once
kill
it's
everything
there,
on purpose.
they kill everything around it, so it's like able to thrive. It has no competition for surfaces or anything. The only way to kill it is with the UV lights. So unless you have someone going in there with UV lights,
Burn it down. I'm just kidding.
you know, but like for real, the thing is,
Flamethrowers.
the fact that they're sanitizing things it's the superbug concept, really.
Yeah, it's like the thing that survives the,
The
everything.
99.9% chance of killing everything, but yeah. Which that's why the UV lights is the way to kill it. So
Listen, guys, The Last of Us is actually happening right now, and they're covering it up. No, I'm just kidding.
it's just an issue.
I'm joking, Andrew.
No, I'm just saying it's just an issue in hospitals because you have people who are basically dying who get it, and then
Yeah, they have weakened immune system. Basically, what they've said is like people who don't have weakened immune systems are not at risk. But then they say the article, and this is a problem with just media in general. Look at this article. Deadly fungal infection spreading at an alarming rate, CDC says. Where does it tell you in here that it's only people with weakened immune systems, that it's less than 2,500 people, and it's in the hospitals? Like, it doesn't tell you any of those things. Like, none of the important data is in the title. None of it.
I mean, I just want to point out that 25,000 people dying.
No, 2,500.
2,500. Yeah, that's basically in line. If they came out with a vaccine for this thing or something, it would be enough for them to mandate it. That's all I'm saying. Like, look up the data on things like tetanus. How many people actually died from it? The amounts are ridiculously small. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a bunch of things that the amount of people who actually got tetanus and died from it was such a ridiculously low number of people.
Okay, these numbers are different than what I read. They're saying about 4,000. So, I don't know. It's still not that many. When you think about 300 million people in this country,
dude,
like, you're talking about less than the population of people in the hospital system already in New York. Like, there's not that many people.
I'm just saying, if you go look up, it's like certain things. If it's such a small amount, but they make a huge deal out of it.
The thing is
like sell a product, bro.
The human body will find ways to beat things on its own, and this fungus will eventually get eradicated. Like, not eradicated, or we'll be able to live with it.
We've discussed it before. No virus is ever going. It's like there's this.
Well, the ability for a virus to promulgate, if it's deadly, is very low.
I mean, there's like a sweet spot for how deadly it can ever be and be still super spreadable. So
right.
It's never ever going to kill everybody.
Well, and even if it killed a huge population, eventually it will hit its limit for what it can do.
Yeah, I mean, like the worst ratio that I've ever seen written down is like likely to be highly spreadable is like 15% mortality rate, maybe at the worst case. That's, I mean, a lot of people globally, but when you think about it, 15%, it's like that's not the worst.
Right.
When you factor out like what the age demographic spread would be on that too. So
yeah, it is what it is. I mean, everybody's gonna die eventually.
On a certain level, yes. Yeah. I just love though how it's
still on a certain level.
On a certain level.
What do you mean?
I mean,
He's like, I'm gonna be downloaded to the machines.
No. I mean,
oh man.
What if they found a way to just keep your body going?
So here's what this is. Okay, I have a weird take on this. Hear me out. The amount of years that people can live currently is, I mean, it's not more than what they say in the Bible necessarily, but it is a long time. Like, you're talking people have been able to live comfortably into like the 100+ range. Not everybody, but some people do.
What's comfortably?
Like you can still physically go places and socialize with family and do
Some
things.
have, yeah.
But here's what I was gonna say about that is like the medical system keeps people like alive a pretty long time. You know, if you keep going in to get help and keep coming back out, like the health system has managed to prolong people's lives. But here's the thing: the risk of you catching something like these, like for example, this fungus.
Mm-hmm.
If you're already like a weakened immune system in and out of the hospital, like the longer you are prolonging your life, the more likely you are to be, what's the right word?
Infected.
Infected by something like this. Like it's just a fact. Like the body does wear down, and the immune system gets weak. It's just how it is.
I mean, there's what I was saying on some level was really just the fact that they've, biological evidence is that your cells could theoretically last much longer than they
Zombie
do.
fungus. Yeah, Last of Us is happening, Zio. It's the Last of Us. The cordyceps have gotten us. Gosh. We did a podcast where we talked about cordyceps for like 2 hours, like 2 years ago. And that was one of our most viewed podcasts of all time. It was hilarious.
Just think about.
We got that video partially claimed by the BBC midstream, and we had to kill a entire browser window to get it back.
Really?
Yeah.
Just think of how focused we are on apocalypses as a society.
I mean, I'll be honest though, if people were that focused on apocalypses back in the time of Noah, then more people would have believed him about the ark. Okay? You know, more people would have been like, yeah, maybe this ark thing is a good idea.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm thinking if more people think that if more people think the apocalypse is happening, it probably ain't happening. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Well, okay, it's not. This isn't exactly Last of Us material. It's just
no, it's not.
It's like you're getting molded.
Kind of. I mean, did you just look it up?
No, I know what it is. I don't. Please don't look it up. I know how awful it is.
I'm gonna look it up on a browser that's not live.
I was gonna say, don't look it up. Is
it that bad?
Dude, it's like. It's just it's an infection where it's like you're getting mold. It's weird, man.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Wow, that is disgusting.
Yeah, that's what I'm freaking saying. Don't look. I told you not to look it up. Is it how I described it?
What the heck? Yeah, it's like the body is literally just like dying.
Yeah, it's like gangrene. It's not a.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the longer you prolong your body's existence, the more prone you are to things like this because your body's trying to go and you're stopping it.
See, I just don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. The thing I don't like when they come up with those titles and stuff, though, is it's clearly fear porn.
Oh yeah, it totally is. I mean, if it was seriously a problem, then you'd have over 1 million cases.
I mean, there's always an apocalypse. There's always a fear porn. There's always someone to donate money to. You ever notice that no one ever says we're beyond the tipping point? There's always someone to donate money to.
No, there's
always somebody to donate money to.
Here's the problem with these organizations that fight for things, is it literally fits the quote from Batman. It's like you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. A lot of these nonprofit or like programs that are going after a specific cause, they have to end when the cause is over. Yeah. If they continue to live past the cause, then they have to do something else.
I just want to point out though that there's always an apocalypse, a crisis, terrible crisis. We're always close to the tipping point, but never beyond the tipping point. And every projection for when the tipping point is always wrong, right? The point of no return, it's always wrong, just in time for us to still be able to donate money. More
Y2K.
So you gotta be a cynic on that topic. Whenever something's fear porn related, you gotta be a cynic.
Any article that's trying to scare you, you gotta question it, no matter what.
Well, also, it's usually never the actual expert who's writing the article.
That's also fair. Like 90% of the time, you're like, who wrote this? And then you look and it's like,
and then you actually look into the references, and they're like, they didn't say that at all.
yeah, you could, yeah, that is true.
Not even close.
If somebody provides references, you should always check them.
Yeah, I mean, even in the best journalism, it's basically like GPT is over here.
Dude, I
and
don't trust a journalist as far as I can throw them.
I'm just saying, it's almost like Chat GPT writing the article over here and then manufacturing fake references.
Look, if I want to find medical information, you know where I go to? It ain't WebMD, that's for sure. I go to PubMed.
I go to a doctor who's older.
No,
than
I'm saying
40.
if I want to research it. I'm not saying if I want to like if I want. My doctors are good. I like my doctors.
No, I was just saying I find a doctor who's over 40. That's my basic rule.
How old are you? 39. No, can't.
No, can't. Sorry.
You're like that. You're like that. How I Met Your Mother joke. Barney Stinson's like, if she doesn't think Ewoks are cute, then she's young enough to date because the year that the Empire Strikes Back came out would immediately put somebody who thinks that they're cute.
LOL, Chris. Journalists are greater than politics. Greater at what?
So no. This is a horrible take because there are some good journalists out there. Very few, but they exist, and there are some good politicians out there. There are a few, and they exist.
Okay, on average,
they are equivalent.
My take on journalists and politicians is that journalists are basically failed politicians who aren't popular enough to actually run themselves.
No, I disagree with that. There are people that want to be journalists.
On average.
There are people that want to be journalists.
And then they just form supporting roles for the popularity.
I agree with Zio. I agree with Zio on this one. They're the same thing. Like they're not better than each other. There are levels of corruption within both of them. I'd have to look this up. I don't actually know what this means. I'm assuming it's a dig at me, but that's okay. I'm willing to accept the dig.
You know what, Chris? Just read your, MD articles and that's it. I'm just gonna go find a doctor over 40. That's You know what? I feel like that's a good level of life experience.
I prefer my doctors over 80 who don't wash their hands.
Hey, man.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, okay.
I mean, at one point in time, I might have agreed with you, but I just don't. I'm too cynical now. I don't trust anybody.
To the people only listening, the comment was journalists expose truth, politicians manipulate truth. My hot take is a journalist is usually poor, so they're bribable. And I don't know if you ever heard the term yellow journalism, but that was a thing which helped contribute to us getting into the Spanish-American War. So journalists lying since the 1900s and before. So, yeah.
I would say the bulk of journalists just write what they want and don't expose it. Like, when was the last time you saw a journalist out in the field actually exposing something? It's been a while. I'm talking from any of the mainstream news. Like, none of them are out there doing that. Like, they get tips from random people like you and me, and then put them on the internet for people to read about.
They're supporting a worldview. They're only really looking towards a worldview usually. So
the worldview has to support whatever network they're on.
Yeah, I'm saying they have a worldview, and they're looking to support that worldview. If it's right or wrong, they'll report from that worldview. So
that's why you'll see, like, every mainstream article will be talking about the same thing, and the take will be entirely different.
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's too much opinion in it, no matter what, and you can't expect them to leave the bias at the door. I mean, you can't expect anyone to leave the bias at the door, but that's why you should look at multiple sources.
I don't disagree with you, Mike. There are definitely some good journalists still out there, but Like it's like you got to really dig deep to find some of these good journalists.
Well, I think I think a key here is you only really realize how bad a journalist is when you see them have an opinion and write about something that you're an expert in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? So they're usually surface level, they're usually pretty passe about whatever it is to just support their worldview with some narrative, and they'll get a lot of facts blatantly wrong, but expect the wider audience is just ignorant to whatever it is.
Yeah, honestly, I see like these articles all the time that are like, they'll be pro this type of thing, and then like, I'll just, there's a lot of green energy out there, right? And cool. But if you're not willing to have base load like nuclear or one of those type of energies, like really you're not supporting the grid as best as you can.
Okay, let's put it this way. There's what's quote unquote green energy, which is not base load because it doesn't have a steady output of energy.
Well, for example, if you live in Alaska, you can't expect to have sunlight 24/7.
Well, you can never expect to have sunlight.
I'm just saying, like a very serious example, Alaska. That is not a place where you want solar to power your stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things though where you can't expect the same output from day to day, let alone hour to hour.
Right. So you have to have you have storage capacity.
Yeah.
You have to have sources. Access. Yeah, backup sources.
Right. So, whereas if you just invest the money into a solid baseload power source that provides 24/7 continuous energy that's reliable and non-fluctuating, you reduce backup and grid complexity and don't waste resources investing in double the power production capabilities just because you need the backup sources. Like, you don't need it anymore. So
honestly, one of the countries best suited for power production is France.
Well, they've mismanaged their program.
They've mismanaged, but yeah. When you look at how they've set it themselves up, like
their program is very good overall as far
right.
as what they set up for a grid, but the program was taken over by anti-nukes and has been managed very poorly. So they should be right now a gemstone at the peak of the crown that is energy in Europe right now, but they've been very lackluster. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say like their setup, their grid should be very stable if they would manage it properly.
The problem is right now people are acting like wind and solar are great options for the grid. The second they become, what is it, like 15% of the grid, you start having terrible outcomes. And I don't care what anyone says, large scale battery storage is garbage. Batteries are expensive, have terrible life expectancy.
This is also a fact.
And are costly.
News in the U.S. is mostly entertainment. That is actually
a fact. No, I mean, you don't have to say that that's an opinion, Mike. That's
a fact.
The whole
bulk of headlines I see are like, it'll be like, I don't know, T-Pain said this. I haven't seen him in the news in a billion years. Like O.J. Simpson releases new book. It's like, I don't care if O.J.'s writing books anymore.
But it's not really entertainment.
If I did it.
It's not really entertainment, is it? It's emotional roller coaster entertainment.
If I had $10 for every Tom Brady and Gisele Bundchen article I've seen over the past 2 years, I'd be a millionaire.
It's all about emotions, man. It's a roller coaster for your emotions. It's not really supposed to be entertainment outside of reactionary.
I mean, we went from like all these entertainment stories being in tabloids to taking over the internet with them, and I'm like, I'm just tired of it. Give me some facts, give me some news, call it good.
I hate how the ads in even reputable news sources websites are like looking like they're articles. I hate that.
This is exactly what I was talking about. OJ's new book, If I Did It, bestseller on Amazon. No, that's a real book. You know that, right?
It is. Yeah.
It is a real book.
That's
hold on. I'll pull it up. I want to see this book. I think that all the proceeds are supposed to go to the family of his deceased wife, right?
I
Is
think
that
he might have gotten sued. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think all the money is going to his
The
deceased wife.
hey Chris, want to know a fun fact though
Sure.
about the electrical grid in America right now?
No,
There's
I don't want to know about that.
there's two states. Two states are in the top three for the percentage of their grid that is renewable energy in the form of
There you
wind and
go.
solar. You're not showing up.
There you go.
That's
If
an
I did it.
expensive book.
Well, that's the Kindle version's like $12.
That's expensive for a Kindle version.
It is. It's probably because OJ needs every last cent.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, there's two states that are in the top, like two of the top states for renewable energy. They're also two of the top states for most unreliable grids. Guess which states they are, Chris?
Which ones?
California and
New York?
nope.
Texas?
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Top two least reliable grids.
Texas is just in a no-win situation right now when it comes to their grid. They released a little too much regulation and allowed these companies to not maintain the grid, essentially.
They've done it to themselves.
They did, I agree. And some of it's because they were over-reliant on specific power sources.
Well, do you know what a big portion of the problem is? They've embraced tax credits.
Which they use to make, the solar plants they have down there?
Solar and wind are heavily tax subsidized. So federal tax subsidies incentivize different companies to come in, build them, and they don't have to care about profitability because any amount of money they make off of it is basically free to them.
So here's the thing: Texas is not technically unregulated. I think it's state regulated. Is that accurate?
It is state regulated, but
it's state regulated.
But it's
not federally regulated.
They're still willing to go. They're still willing to go along with federal tax subsidies.
Right.
And as part of their unregulated thing, they're all about if you want to build it, you can build it. So they're not really fighting back against like, oh, you're only coming in because you have these subsidies. They're just saying, well, if you want to produce power and can sell it, sell it. So
we should do this book. On our book club.
I agree with Zeo Gaming. We just need to go nuclear.
Well, I agree.
It's literally the best method.
$5,000 bill for what? Energy?
No, if in Texas, they can't just charge anything, no rules. It's literally based off of demand and supply. So if the bidding goes up ridiculously, then there you go. You're on a variable rate for your electricity. I'm pretty sure you're allowed to pay more to not be on variable rate. So if you take a variable rate in Texas, you're really setting yourself up for a huge risk.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets crazy. That's why you end up paying a $5,000 bill is because the wind and solar can just come offline at a moment's notice and be unreliable as shit. So it's not a good thing for the grid because they have to find a way to reduce demand whenever that happens or risk a brownout or blackout for the grid. Right. So it's not a good situation down there for that.
Like there are ways to transition the grid to newer technologies, but the newer technologies we've selected are not the most efficient.
The problem is, so fundamentally behind every wind and solar advocacy, there's a shit ton of money from natural gas producers. Because for every wind and solar farm that gets built, there has to be a gas plant peaker there as the backup that will end up being ran, getting paid prime rates because it's an emergency, right?
Yeah.
So it pays to have it there for the emergencies because you get to gouge prices. And then wind and solar puts out your competition, right? It puts them out of business because there's laws on the books that have given priority to wind and solar electricity payment. Like if they have access to the grid, they're given priority. It's really stupid.
But I think I'm done with the grid for today.
Yeah, it's it's a stressful situation for the country. I'm not gonna lie.
It definitely is. There's fun stuff. Anyways, if I did it, confession. No, I'm just kidding.
We will review the book in 3 months.
This one? I
No.
don't think so. We probably won't do this one ever. Although now I'm curious if Kwame Kilpatrick wrote a book about his text messages.
I don't know, man.
Oh man, there's got to be some ridiculous books out there we can read for fun.
I don't know. Well, we already have like 3 books lined up. We just have to
Actually, I might find. I'm actually starting to come along on the reading the Federalist Papers with you.
Are you?
I'm considering it. Yeah, I've seen some
Nice.
quotes from the Federalist Papers recently, and I'm like,
They're
wow, I didn't
good.
know that.
They're good. I'm still in it. I haven't finished. I got diverted to
How
another
long is the book overall?
pretty big.
Is it?
There's like what, 50 letters?
I don't remember. Let's find out. In modern English, that's got to be an awful idea. Unabridged, that's the one I would want. Annotated though, maybe not.
No, keep scrolling. I'll show. I'll point out which one I bought if it's on here.
Anyways, long
I
story
bought
short.
this one.
This one?
Yeah. It's a decent amount of pages.
I'm gonna get the Royal Collector's Edition. No, I'm just kidding.
But gosh.
Laminate hardcover with jacket. Heck yes, that sounds like the. Honestly, like I don't even think this is a controversial opinion, but I think the more control states have over their own what is it? Not independence, because none of the states are independent, but their own day-to-day operations. I think the better off we are, because all the states operate differently. And I don't think that a centralized, strong government
So
is
what
the
you're
best way to
saying,
operate.
Chris, is it's better to have 50 experiments going for policy than a singular point of failure in a central policy.
I think centralized anything is dangerous.
Yeah, but like, so for example, if there's a, let's say, random policy to institute a whole new program that's never been attempted before, it's better to have 50 states play around with that policy and experiment in different ways than to break ground at the centralized level that dooms all 50 to failure if the one chosen method sucks.
Yeah, that one true ring to rule them all, bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think the federal government should dictate what states do in most cases. Personally, that's my opinion. I also don't think centralized things are good. I definitely don't think that's good. The more centralized things get, the worse it gets.
So, Chris, is this you saying you are a fan of Bitcoin?
You always go back to this every time. Every time. No, I'm a fan of the gold standard. That's where we should be at. You know, fiat money is a joke.
I mean, technically, gold prices are a joke too.
At least it exists.
Did you see that? Did you see that J.P. Morgan got rug pulled on nickel?
No, I didn't hear about that.
So they bought a bunch of nickel that turned out to be.
OJ did write it. OJ did write it, dude.
They accidentally bought a bag of rocks instead of nickel. So
Listen, man, they what is it? What's the phrase that you steal from Peter to feed John or something? Or steal from Peter to feed Paul or something? I don't know. What's the phrase?
basically what you said.
Yeah. That's what the government does. They just take one person's money and give it to somebody else.
The problem is they usually fail at whatever they're trying to do because they can't dictate things really better than the free market. So when they fail, they have to find an excuse, which is usually claiming they didn't have enough control over the process.
Is what it
Which
is, I
is
guess.
always easier to say you didn't do enough than to say you did too much, because that would, indicate you're getting rid of your
I don't think
job.
that's actually true, unless he wrote it with OJ.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Well,
Well, to each their own. I'll figure that out later.
Chris, you're really terrible at reading the comment. You just put it on the screen, but you don't read it.
Okay, sorry. It says Wiki said Pablo whatever wrote the book. Yes, exactly. Zio's got it. The federal government is large and bloated.
That's an understatement.
Like, that's a totally different topic. Maybe if we do the Federalist Papers, we can talk about it then. Because I have so many opinions
So
on
you're
this.
good with putting the Federalist Papers on the list of books for the
At the end of the year.
for the end of the. I thought the Fourth Turning was an end of the year book.
Do we think OJ can write? LOL.
Shit.
Well, to be fair,
he did go to college.
Well, no. He's got a point. CTE is a real thing.
His career was cut short.
So? I'm sure he had enough hits in the NFL.
I mean, he was pretty good at not getting hit terribly.
Oh, man. Anyways, on that note, we've gone well over our time today.
Yeah, this one was a bit of a
Doozy.
a random ranter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is what happens when Will cuts us off at the last.
And we're still on a screen about the top selling PS3 games. So gaming was still here. There was still gaming.
Gaming was represented. I mean, hey, we were talking about the government. Isn't that Grand Theft Auto?
I like how I said I wanted a 10-minute zinger to finish it, and we went another hour. Yeah, it was partially your fault, Mike.
Yeah.
I agree. It was partially you derailed us.
Healthy gaming. I mean,
no. So we are still going to do that. So that's going to be a couple weeks. No, I had a personal trainer and health expert that was coming on today, but his internet connection is not very good. So he'll be on. He will be on in the future, probably sitting right next to me for a different show.
Yeah. Which that one will be interesting. We have a lot that we can discuss.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Andrew's favorite yogurt. No, I'm just kidding.
Icelandic provisions. It's best.
Yeah.
Skyr is better than Greek. Just saying.
I roast my own coffee. No more coffee brand coffee for me.
You popcorn pop your coffee. I don't know.
It's good, dude. It works, okay? It works the exact same way as the old school coffee roasting does. It just has a little popcorn flavor.
I think you lie and you just buy Starbucks.
No, I don't. Actually, maybe I'll make a video on it, show you guys how I air popper my coffee. But I have run out of cough drops and water, so I'm at the end of my rope.
It's because you're not doing enough to boost your immune system, Chris.
I have kids. That's enough.
You're not supplementing with enough vitamin D, amateur. Just
Is that what you tell your wife?
Oh,
Come here, get those vitamin D, baby.
Oh, okay. We hit the time limit where Chris is not slap happy, everybody. Or he's been taking alcoholic cough drops this entire time.
I thought you were going to say something. I think it was like alcoholic enemas. I was like, no.
Oh my god.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, okay, everybody. I think he is drunk on cough drops. That is confirmed by the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
That's what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say that. As always, I'm Chris.
And I'm Andrew, still confused as to how Chris got there, so...
And we will see you
on the next CHRILLCAST. Bye, guys.
Oh, God.